Have you ever wondered why the moment you stop trying, he suddenly starts chasing? Why does he only see your worth when he feels the fear of losing you? It's not a coincidence, it's human nature. The harder something is to get, the more valuable it becomes. The second you stop proving, stop explaining, stop waiting, the game changes. And that's exactly why he needs to learn this hard lesson, because a man will never cherish what he believes he will never lose. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control, and that is where your power begins. You cannot control his actions, his feelings, or his choices, but you can control your own. The moment you step back, the moment you stop seeking his validation, the moment you detach from the need to be chosen, you take away the very thing that made him comfortable. He was never afraid of losing you, because you made it too easy for him to keep you. But that changes today. Think of a flame. A fire does not beg for oxygen. It burns, powerful and unwavering. It does not chase the wind. It does not ask to be kept alive. It simply exists, fierce and undeniable. But what happens when the air pulls away? The fire flickers, it struggles, it gasps for what it once had, effortlessly. That is exactly what happens when you stop chasing him. He becomes the fire. He feels the shift. He feels the absence of your warmth. And suddenly, what he once ignored becomes the only thing he can think about. You have given enough. You have sent the messages, made the effort, stayed up at night replaying his words, trying to decode what he meant. You have hoped, waited, convinced yourself that maybe, just maybe, if you just loved him harder, he would finally see your worth. But he didn't. He took your presence for granted. He assumed you would always be there, always reaching, always proving. And that is exactly why this lesson is necessary. Because nothing wakes a man up like the silence of the woman he thought would never walk away. At first, he won't understand. He will think you're just being dramatic, that you'll give in like you always do. He will wait for your message, expecting you to return like you always have. But then, the silence stretches. The calls don't come. The certainty he once had begins to crack. And that's when the lesson begins. He will start wondering. He will start searching. He will start realizing that what he had, what he assumed would always be his, is slipping away. And by the time he fully understands, by the time he feels the weight of your absence, you will already be gone. But here's the truth, and it's the hardest one to accept. This is not about him. This is about you. This is about choosing yourself, about reclaiming the power you have handed over for far too long. You are not just another woman waiting for a text, hoping for a chance, proving her worth to a man who should have seen it from the start. You are more. You are everything. And the moment you start living in that truth, the moment you stop making yourself so easy to take for granted, everything shifts. A queen does not chase. A queen does not beg. A queen does not sit in uncertainty, waiting for a man to realize what he has. She stands. She reigns. She allows only those who are worthy to step into her space. And a man who truly values you will not need to lose you to understand your worth. He will cherish you in your presence, not just in your absence. So let him feel it. Let him wonder. Let him sit with the silence he created. And if he is meant for you, if he is worthy of you, he will rise to meet you. But if he does not, then he was never the man for a woman like you. And that, queen, is the most powerful lesson of all. Write this in the comments and claim your power. I do not chase, I attract. I am the prize. Let the world know that you are done waiting, done proving, done hoping for a man to see what he should have known all along. Queens, if this message spoke to your heart, if it reminded you of the strength that has always been inside you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We pour our energy, time and passion into creating content that empowers, uplifts and transforms. Your support means everything, and together we are building a community of women who know their worth, stand in their power, and never settle for less than they deserve. Stay with us, because your reign has only just begun. Number 1. When you stop watering, he feels the drought. Have you ever noticed that the more you pour into him, the less he seems to care? The more you give, the less he appreciates. It's like a plant that gets so much water, it no longer reaches for the rain. But what happens when you stop watering? What happens when the endless flow of love, effort and attention dries up? Suddenly, he feels it. He feels the drought. And that, queens, is when everything changes. Seneca once said, "He who indulges himself too much will grow weak." That is exactly what happened here. He never feared losing you because you made it too easy for him to have you. You were always there, texting first, checking in, making sure he was okay, holding everything together while he barely lifted a finger. And the more you did, the less he valued it, because comfort breeds complacency. He never had to fight for your love, so he never truly cherished it. But now the water stops. Now the river runs dry. Now he must face the harsh truth. He was never entitled to your love, and without it, he is left thirsty for what he once took for granted. Think of a lush garden, full of life and beauty. Every day, the gardener comes, watering it, caring for it, making sure it flourishes. But what happens when the gardener walks away? The flowers that once bloomed effortlessly begin to wither. The leaves that once stretched toward the sun start to curl. The earth cracks, desperate for the touch of rain. That is what he will feel when you stop giving him everything without question. He will feel the loss, the emptiness, the hunger for the presence he once ignored. At first, he won't understand. He will assume you're just busy. He will wait for your usual message, expect you to check on him like always. But when the hours turn to days, when the silence stretches longer than he expected, the weight of it will start to settle. He will check his phone more often, replay old conversations, wonder why your name hasn't appeared like it always does. He will feel the shift, the absence, the undeniable truth that something is different. And that realization, that's when the chase begins. You have done enough. You have loved enough. You have given enough. And if he couldn't see your worth when your love flowed freely, then he will have to learn the hard way by feeling the drought. This is not about playing games. This is not about manipulation. This is about balance. Love should never be one-sided. Effort should never be a burden carried by just one person. And now it's time for him to wake up, to feel the emptiness that only your presence could fill, to realize that love, real love, is something he must earn, not something he can just expect. This is where everything shifts. This is where you step into your power. You are not a woman who begs for attention, who overgives, who waits endlessly for a man to see what should have been obvious from the start. You are more. You are the prize. You are the source. And a man who truly values you will never put you in a position where you have to teach him your worth. But if he does, then this lesson is necessary. Let him feel it. Let him wonder. Let him chase. Queens, it's time to stop watering what refuses to grow. It's time to take back your energy, to reclaim your power, to remind yourself that you were never meant to beg for love. The moment you stop giving him what he took for granted is the moment he will realize he needed it all along. And by then, The question will no longer be whether he wants you back. The real question will be, does he even deserve another chance? Write this in the comments and claim your power. I am no longer watering what refuses to grow. Let the world know that you are done overgiving, done proving, done waiting. And queens, if this message reminded you of the strength that has always been inside you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are working hard to bring you life-changing lessons because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 2. He won't miss the light until it's gone. Have you ever noticed that he only seems to appreciate something once it's gone? When you were always there, texting first, waiting for replies, showing up no matter what, he barely noticed. But the second you pull back, the moment your attention fades, suddenly everything changes. He starts searching, starts wondering, starts realizing that what he once ignored is now slipping through his fingers. Because that's how it works, Queen. He won't miss the light until it's gone. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." And here's the truth. If he never had to work for you, he never had to fear losing you. You gave him comfort, certainty, security. He never had to question where he stood because you always made it clear. But what happens when you stop giving him that? What happens when the warmth of your presence turns into the cold of your absence? That is when he finally understands. That is when he feels the lesson that words could never teach. Think of the sun. Every day it rises, bringing light, warmth, and life to everything it touches. And yet, no one stops to appreciate it. No one looks up in the middle of the day and thinks about how lucky they are to have its warmth. But on the rare days when the sky turns dark, when the sun disappears, that's when it's missed the most. That's when people realize just how much they took for granted. And you, Queen, are that sun. You were shining too bright, too constant, too available. He never had to question your presence. But now, you let him feel the night. You've given enough. You've explained, proven, waited. And what did it bring you? Overthinking, sleepless nights, a love that felt one-sided, but not anymore. The moment you step back, the moment you stop making yourself an option, he will feel the shift. He will check his phone, expecting your name. He will wonder why the good morning texts stopped. He will replay old conversations, searching for signs of when everything changed. And that realization, it will haunt him. Because, here's the truth, he never feared losing you. He never thought he had to. And that is exactly why this lesson is necessary. You are not an afterthought. You are not an option. And if he does not see your worth while you're there, then he will be forced to see it when you are gone. But Queen, this is not about games. This is not about manipulation. This is about self-respect. This is about reclaiming your power. You are done waiting for his attention, done proving your worth, done chasing a man who never had to chase you. Because a queen does not beg for a seat at the table. She walks away and builds her own. And if he is worthy, if he is truly meant for you, he will rise, he will chase, he will prove himself. Because when you finally understand your own value, he will have no choice but to do the same. Let him feel it. Let him wonder. Let him sit in the silence where your love used to be. And by the time he realizes what he lost, you will already be too far ahead, too powerful, too untouchable. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. I was the light. Now let him learn to live in the dark. Let it be your truth. Let it be your strength. Let it be the moment you finally choose yourself. And if this message spoke to your heart, if it reminded you of the power you've always had, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 3. Empty hands will tremble for you. Have you ever seen a man hold something precious without realizing its worth until it's gone? He held you in his hands, careless, distracted, unbothered. He thought you would always be there, always giving, always reaching. But now, those hands are empty. And now, those empty hands will tremble for you. Seneca once said, "A gift loses its value when it is too easily given." That is the lesson he is about to learn. He believed your love, your presence, your effort were endless, like air, always there, always waiting, always ready. He never stopped to think what would happen if you walked away. But you did. And now the silence is louder than any words. The emptiness is heavier than he ever imagined. Think of a child holding a bird in his hands. At first, he doesn't understand what he has. He grips too tightly, not realizing he is pushing it away. Then, when the bird finally flies, he panics. His hands, once full of life, are now nothing but empty space. He reaches, he chases, but it's too late. That is exactly what happens when you step back. He never noticed your warmth until it was gone. And now? Now his hands will tremble for what they once held so carelessly. You gave him every chance. You explained, you forgave, you stayed longer than you should have. You hoped he would wake up, that he would see you, that he would fight for you the way you fought for him. But he didn't. He kept taking, kept assuming, kept expecting you to always be there. But nothing lasts forever, not even patience, not even love. And when you finally let go, when you finally choose yourself over waiting, that's when everything shifts. At first, he won't believe it. He will think you're playing a game, testing him, trying to make him jealous. He will wait, expecting you to come back like you always do. But days will pass, then weeks, and suddenly he will realize this time you are not coming back. This time the emptiness is real. This time his hands are not waiting, they are missing. And missing something is the first step to chasing it. But here's the truth. This is not about making him chase. This is about you stepping into your power. A woman who knows her worth does not beg to be held. She does not plead to be chosen. She does not lower herself for a man who could not see her value when she was right in front of him. A queen does not ask for love. She is love. And only the worthy will recognize that. You are no longer the woman who waits. You are no longer the woman who overgives, who hopes for breadcrumbs, who settles for half-hearted love. You are rising, stepping into the power that was always yours. And as you do, he will feel the shift. He will feel the loss. He will feel the space you once filled so effortlessly. His hands will tremble because, for the first time, he will understand you were never his to take for granted. Let him wonder. Let him feel it. Let him sit in the silence where your voice used to be. And when he reaches for you again, when he tries to pull you back, the question will no longer be whether he wants you, it will be whether he still deserves you. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim it. His empty hands will tremble for what they lost. Let it be your truth, your power, your unshakable reminder that you are no longer waiting. You are choosing yourself. And if this message spoke to your soul, if it reminded you of the strength that has always been inside you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, to remind you of the power you have always held. Because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 4. A locked door is always worth more. Have you ever noticed that people only appreciate a door once it's locked? When it was open, easy to walk through, nobody thought twice about it. But the second it closes, the second it becomes unavailable, that's when it suddenly becomes valuable. That's when people start knocking, waiting, wishing they had appreciated what was once so easy to access. And that, Queens, is exactly why a locked door is always worth more. A man who never feared losing you will never value you. If he always knew you'd be there, always waiting, always reaching, why would he feel urgency? Why would he fight? He won't. Because he believes the door is always open. He walks in and out of your life as he pleases, knowing you will be there no matter how many times he disappears. But the second you shut that door, the moment you decide that your love is not an open invitation, everything changes. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." And here's the truth. If he doesn't have to work for you, if he doesn't have to prove himself, he will never cherish what he has. The harder something is to attain, the more valuable it becomes. That's why luxury cars, rare diamonds and masterpieces are not handed out for free. They are sought after, they are earned, and so are you. Think of a velvet rope outside an exclusive event. The people who can walk in without effort don't see its value. They take it for granted. But the ones waiting outside, the ones who know they can't just walk through whenever they please, they crave it. They long for it. They wonder what it would be like to be inside. That is how a man feels when you finally step back and show him that you are not an open door. Your love is an exclusive space that only the worthy get to enter. You have spent too long making things easy. You have given your time, your love, your energy, without asking if it was truly being valued. And where did that leave you? Wondering, overthinking, asking yourself why he doesn't see what you bring to the table. But the real question is, why did you make it so easy for him to sit there without earning his place? It's time to change the rules. It's time to close the door. At first, he won't understand. He will knock, expecting you to answer. He will assume you are just playing a game, waiting for you to go back to the woman who always gave, who always tried, who always made excuses for his lack of effort. But when the silence stretches, when the door stays shut, that is when the lesson begins. He will start wondering. He will start doubting himself. He will feel the absence of the love he once took for granted. And when he realizes that the easy access he once had is no longer there, that's when he starts chasing. But Queens, this is not about playing games. This is not about making him run in circles. This is about knowing your worth. This is about understanding that your love is a privilege, not a consolation prize. You do not beg to be valued. You do not stand in the doorway hoping he chooses you. You step back, you lock the door, and you let him prove that he is worthy enough to be invited in. A queen does not wait in the hallway of uncertainty. She does not keep the door open for a man who was never sure about stepping through. She decides. She chooses. She controls who is allowed into her life, into her heart, into her energy. And a man who is truly meant for you will rise to meet you. He will knock with intention, with effort, with the understanding that he must earn what he once took for granted. So let him feel the distance. Let him realize that you are not a woman who waits forever. Let him sit outside that locked door and wonder if he will ever be allowed back in. And by the time he finally understands, by the time he realizes what he lost, you will already be living the life you were always meant to have, one where you are no longer an option, but the prize. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. My love is not an open door. It is earned, not given. Let the world know that you are done waiting, done proving, done giving without receiving. And if this message woke something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you have always had, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 5. The throne never chases, it's claimed. Have you ever seen a throne chase after a king? Have you ever seen a crown lower itself to fit the head of a man who does not deserve it? Number A. Throne stands tall, unshaken, untouched, waiting for the one worthy enough to claim it. And yet, here you are, lowering yourself, waiting, hoping, giving chances to a man who does not even realize the value of what stands before him. But that ends today. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." And that is the truth many fail to understand. A man only values what he has to earn. If he does not feel the need to chase you, to fight for you, to prove himself, then why would he? Why would he respect what is handed to him so easily? He is not blind, he just never feared losing you. But once you stop handing him your time, your energy, your love on a silver platter, everything will change. Because a throne never moves. It only waits for the one who dares to kneel. Think of the rarest diamond locked away in a vault. Many admire it, but only the worthy can claim it. Now imagine that same diamond tossed into the streets, free for anyone to pick up. What happens? It loses its value, not because it is any less rare, but because it is too easy to take. That is exactly what happens when you chase, when you beg, when you make yourself too available. You are still priceless, but he does not see it because he never had to earn it. But the moment you lock yourself away, the moment you stop making yourself easy to reach, he will realize what he has lost. And by the time he finally understands, you will have already stepped into your power. You have spent nights overthinking, wondering why he pulls away when you give him everything. You have questioned yourself, wondering if you were too much, if you loved too hard, if you should have done less. But here's the truth. You were never too much. You simply gave too much to a man who did too little. And now it is time to take it all back. He thought you would always be there, waiting, hoping. But now you are done. Now you are the throne, not the one who begs to be chosen. At first, he won't believe it. He will assume it is just another game, that you will come back like you always do. He will wait, thinking you will reach out, thinking he still has time. But then the silence stretches. The calls don't come. The certainty he once had begins to crack. And that is when he feels it. That is when he realizes that the woman he once took for granted is no longer his to reach. And suddenly, the throne he ignored has become the only thing he wants to claim. But here's the most important part. This is not about making him chase. This is about making yourself so powerful that he no longer holds the power to break you. You are not waiting for him to return. You are not sitting in silence, hoping he wakes up. You are rising. You are stepping into the life that was always meant for you. And whether he comes back or not, that is no longer your concern. Because a queen does not wait for a man to see her worth. She chooses herself first. So let him wonder. Let him feel the emptiness. Let him sit in the silence where your presence used to be. If he is meant for you, he will return, not because you begged, but because he finally understands that a woman like you is not replaceable. But by then, the question will no longer be whether he wants you. It will be whether he still deserves you. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. A throne never chases, it is claimed. Let it be your truth. Let it be your fire. Let it be the moment you finally understand your worth. And if this message awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of the strength that has always been inside you, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We pour our energy, time, and passion into creating life-changing lessons that uplift, empower, and transform. Your support helps us continue this mission, and together we rise, we thrive, and we reign. Number 6. Comfort breeds ignorance. Absence brings craving. Have you ever noticed how the moment you stop giving, he suddenly starts wanting? How he only realizes your worth when you finally walk away? It's not love, it's comfort. He was too used to you being there, too sure of your presence, too confident that no matter what, you would always be an option. And that is exactly why he took you for granted. But now, everything changes. Because when comfort breeds ignorance, absence brings craving. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." And that is what he's about to learn, the hard way. He didn't appreciate you when you were close, so now he will feel the weight of your absence. Your silence will be louder than all the words you ever spoke. Your distance will teach him what your devotion never could. You were not supposed to be his safety net. You were not meant to be taken for granted. And the second you step back, he will feel the shift. Think of the air he breathes. Every moment he takes it in, never stopping to appreciate it, never thinking about what life would be like without it. But the second the air is gone, the second it's taken away, he gasps, he struggles, he panics. He realizes, too late, just how much he needed it. That is what happens when you remove yourself. He won't notice while you're there. He won't care while you're available. But the moment you walk away, the moment your energy is no longer feeding him, he will crave what he once ignored. And this time, he won't be able to get it so easily. You spent so much time giving your time, your love, your patience. You waited, you forgave, you tried to make him see your worth. But he didn't. Not because you weren't enough, but because he was too comfortable. He assumed you would always be there, always reaching, always proving. And that is why you must stop. Not to punish him, not to manipulate him, but to reclaim yourself. Because a man will never cherish what he does not have to fight for. At first, he will think you're bluffing. He will assume you'll come back, that you'll give in like you always do. But when the calls don't come, when the texts stop, when the space between you grows wider, that's when reality will hit him. He will check his phone, expecting to see your name. He will scroll through old messages, replaying the things you used to say. He will wonder where you are, what you're doing, why the woman who once gave him everything is suddenly nowhere to be found. And in that moment, he will understand. He lost something rare. But here's the truth, and it's the most powerful one of all. This is not about him. This is about you. This is about stepping into your worth, about realizing that your love is not something to be handed out like a free gift. You are not just an option, an afterthought, a second choice. You are the prize. And the moment you start living in that truth, the moment you stop making yourself so easy to take for granted, everything shifts. A queen does not beg for attention. A queen does not chase a man who does not see her worth. A queen does not sit in uncertainty, waiting for a man to wake up. She steps back. She stands tall. She watches as those who once ignored her presence now feel the weight of her absence. And when he finally comes running, when he finally realizes what he had, the question will no longer be whether he wants you back, but whether he even deserves a second chance. So let him wonder. Let him miss you. Let him feel the loss of what he thought would always be his. And by the time he finally understands, by the time he is ready to chase you, you will have already stepped into the life you were always meant to live. Queens, write this in the comments and claim your power. My absence will teach him what my presence never could. If this message awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of the strength you've always had, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We pour our energy into creating life-changing lessons for you because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 7. A diamond doesn't beg to be chosen. Have you ever seen a diamond beg to be chosen? Have you ever seen it lower its shine, desperate to be held in hands that do not know its worth? Number A. Diamond simply exists, rare, valuable, and untouchable, waiting for the one wise enough to see its brilliance. But here you are, shrinking yourself, waiting for a man to finally notice what has been in front of him all along. He takes you for granted, assuming you will always be there, always reaching, always proving. And that is exactly why everything must change. Because you are not here to convince him of your worth. You are not an option. You are the prize. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." Think about that. The pain of being ignored, overlooked, or undervalued is only real when you accept it. But the moment you decide that you are enough, the moment you stop chasing, stop proving, stop waiting, that pain loses its power. Because a diamond does not ask to be seen, it does not beg to be wanted, it simply is. And if he cannot recognize your worth, then he was never meant to have you in the first place. Imagine a rare jewel locked away in a vault. It sits untouched, unseen, waiting for the one who understands its true value. The wrong hands may pass by, glance at it, and walk away, unaware of what they just left behind. But the right one, the one who truly sees, he will do whatever it takes to claim it. And that is exactly how you must carry yourself. If he does not cherish you now, if he does not fight for you, if he does not realize your worth, let him walk away, because his blindness to your value does not make you any less priceless. You have already given enough. You have poured out your love, your time, your energy. You have stayed up at night, wondering what you did wrong, questioning if you were enough. But here's the truth. You were never the problem. You were always enough. The real issue is that he never had to earn you. He never had to work for your love. And what comes too easily is never truly valued. But that ends now. You will no longer beg for love, for attention, for validation. You will no longer wait for a man to wake up and see what he should have known from the start. At first, he will not understand. He will assume you are just playing a game, that you will come back like you always do. He will wait for your message, expect your attention, assume that no matter how much he ignored you, you would still be there. But then, the silence stretches. The absence grows heavier, and suddenly he begins to realize he lost something rare. The woman he took for granted, the love he thought he could always return to, is now beyond his reach. And that fear, that regret, it will haunt him. But here's the thing, queens. This is not about making him chase you just to prove a point. This is not about manipulation. This is about stepping into your power. About knowing that you deserve more than a man who only values you when he is at risk of losing you. You deserve more than waiting by the phone, analyzing his mixed signals, trying to be good enough for someone who should have never made you question yourself in the first place. A queen does not lower her crown to be seen. She stands tall, unshaken, knowing that the right one will recognize her worth without needing to be reminded. You are not here to be an option. You are the diamond, rare, radiant, and priceless. And the moment you truly believe that, the moment you stop settling for anything less, you will never again beg to be chosen, because the right man will see you. And the wrong one? He will simply be left behind. Let him wonder. Let him feel the absence. Let him sit in the silence of the woman he thought would never walk away. And by the time he realizes, it will be too late, because you will have already stepped into the life you were always meant to live. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. I am the diamond. I do not beg to be chosen. Let the world know that you are done proving, done waiting, done shrinking yourself for a love that should have been freely given. And if this message spoke to your soul, if it reminded you of the power you've always had, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 8. He slept in peace. Now let him feel the storm. He slept in peace because he thought he would never lose you. He rested easy, knowing you were always there, always waiting, always reaching. While you lay awake, overthinking his words, analyzing his silence, wondering what more you could do, he slept soundly, unbothered, untouched by the storm he created in your heart. But now the storm is no longer inside you. Now the storm is coming for him. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." And that is exactly why he never valued you, because he never had to work for you. He was comfortable, he was certain. He believed that no matter how little effort he put in, no matter how many times he ignored your worth, you would still be there. But the moment you walk away, the moment you stop giving, stop chasing, stop proving, that is the moment his peace turns into restlessness. Think of the sky before a storm. At first, everything is calm, still, almost deceivingly peaceful. He sees no reason to worry, no reason to change. But then the wind shifts, the air thickens, the first distant rumble of thunder rolls across the horizon, and suddenly the peace he took for granted is gone. The storm is coming, and there is nothing he can do to stop it. That is exactly what happens when you pull away, when you stop texting first, when you stop waiting for his attention, when you stop feeding his ego. He won't see it coming until it's too late. At first, he won't take it seriously. He will assume you're playing a game, that you will eventually come back, that this is just another moment of frustration. But then the silence stretches, the space grows wider, and suddenly the world he once controlled no longer feels so certain. His mind will race. He will wonder what you're thinking, who you're with, if you've moved on. The same man who once ignored your worth will now feel the weight of your absence pressing down on him like a storm he never prepared for. But queens, this is not about revenge. This is not about making him suffer. This is about balance, about restoring what was lost. He slept peacefully because you carried all the weight. You lived in uncertainty so that he could rest in comfort. But that time is over. You are no longer the woman who sits in the dark, waiting for a love that should have been given freely. You are the storm, the force of nature, the undeniable power that he should have never taken for granted. You have already spent too many nights questioning your worth, too many days wondering if he would ever wake up and see you. But now, the only person who needs to see your worth is you. Look in the mirror. The woman staring back at you is not broken. She is reborn, stronger, wiser, untouchable. He will chase, he will question, he will try to pull you back into the cycle. But this time the choice is yours. A queen does not wait for a man to realize her worth. She walks in it. She does not beg to be chosen. She is the choice. And a man who truly values you will never risk losing you. So let him feel it. Let him sit in the storm of his own making. Let him understand, too late, that the woman he once took for granted is now the woman he can never reach again. Queens, write this in the comments and claim your power. He slept in peace. Now let him feel the storm. Let the world know that you are done waiting, done proving, done settling for anything less than what you deserve. And if this message stirred something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you've always had, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We pour our hearts into creating life-changing lessons because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign.